This was the first Cup car that Porsche ever built. Designed specifically for racing, built at the Weissach race factory, and they were sold to dealers across the country. In Canada, 36 of them were sold to race shops for racing in something called the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup series. They were raced in England, they were raced in Germany, France, and also, somewhat surprisingly, in South Africa. My name is Ron Teachen, and my friend Peter and I would like to fill you in on some what we think is interesting material on a very, very special 944. Back in 1986, when they had the 951 turbo cars, which had about 225 horsepower, someone in the factory decided that they should build a super 944. They built either 192 or 198 of these Turbo Cup cars, which were identical cars, and they were designed specifically for racing throughout the world. So 1985, 1986, and 1987, there were these little cars which I didn't pay too much attention to, and they were called 944s and 944 turbos, which most of us call 951s. What was happening is that anytime something broke on that car, and if you ever drive cars, and especially if you race cars, you know everything can break at any given time. The shop would always say, well, you know, we should replace that with a Turbo Cup part. So after I spent a moderate amount of money replacing parts with Turbo Cup parts, it didn't take a true genius to say, maybe I should buy a Turbo Cup car. So again, this was before you go on and Google things and internet. So I found this Turbo Cup car. It was for sale. It had been raced in the United States in SCCA. And so I bought the car sight unseen. The car came delivered, beautiful white car. And I looked at that car and I said, this is a great car, but it looks just like my other car. Start driving the car, and I said, man, this is a totally different car. And so that's when I became hooked on Turbo Cup cars. In Canada, they were raced in 1988, 89, and 1990, and again in a series called the Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup series. And if you have trouble remembering that, you can just look at my hat, and that's one of the hats from the series. My wife, of course, wanted to keep up with me in speed, so we found another Turbo Cup car, bought that one. She started driving that car, which has amazingly fewer dents than any car that we own. She raced that in Porsche Club and driver education. And then, unfortunately, I have 4 sons, and all 4 sons started driving in a local race series, went to racing school, and so we bought 4 more Rothmans Porsche Turbo Cup cars. When I go to those races, I chuckle because most of the exhaust systems are either straight through pipes or nothing at all. So they have this distinctive, I'm not sure if I call this a visceral sound or an auditory sound, but it's a very unique sound of the 944 unmuffled cars. The Challenge series, spectators used to look at these cars, listen to the cars and say, wow, they look like they're going fast and they're making a lot of noise, so they have to be fast.